This is the Story Archive. The Restaurant Bill. By the third date, most people start relaxing. The early nerves fade. Conversation becomes easier. You stop wondering whether the other person likes you, and start wondering where things might go. For her, the third date felt promising. The first had been coffee. The second had been a long walk through a park. This one was dinner. A real restaurant. Low lighting, quiet music. The kind of place people choose when they're trying to make a good impression. He had picked it. She arrived first. He walked in a few minutes later smiling, apologizing for traffic. The kind of small apology that makes someone seem considerate. They hugged, sat down, and the evening began. At first, everything felt natural. They talked about work, childhood stories, travel. He told a funny story about a disastrous camping trip. She laughed more than she expected. There was no awkward silence, no forced conversation. Just the steady rhythm of two people getting to know each other. The waiter arrived. He ordered first a cocktail, then an appetizer for the table, then his meal. When the waiter looked at her, she ordered something simple, water, and a pasta dish. Nothing extravagant, just dinner. As the night continued, he ordered another drink, then suggested dessert. She hesitated for a moment, but agreed. It was the third date after all, and everything still felt good. The dessert arrived, chocolate cake. They shared it, talked about movies, talked about music. At one point, he leaned back in his chair and said, "This place is great." She nodded. It was. Eventually, the plates were cleared. The waiter returned and gently placed the bill on the table. That quiet moment where dinner shifts into something else. The moment where someone usually reaches for the check, or offers, or at least acknowledges it. He looked down at the bill, then looked up at the waiter and said casually, "Can we split it?" The waiter nodded. "Of course," and walked away. She didn't think much of it. Splitting a bill isn't unusual, especially on early dates. She wasn't expecting him to pay for everything. That wasn't the issue. A few minutes later, the waiter returned. 2 small receipts, one placed in front of each of them. She glanced down and paused. The number didn't make sense. Her total was far higher than the cost of what she ordered. She mentally reviewed the night. Water, pasta, half of the dessert. That should have been it. But the bill said something different. Her receipt included half of the appetizers, half of the drinks, half of the dessert, half of everything. She looked up. He was staring at his phone, scrolling slowly, not looking at her, not looking at the bill, just scrolling. She did the math quickly. He had ordered 2 cocktails, an appetizer, a steak, and dessert. Her meal had been simple, but the bill was evenly divided, 50-50. For a moment, she wondered if it had been a mistake. Maybe the waiter assumed. Maybe this was just how they did it here. But when she looked at him again, he still wasn't looking up. And that's when she understood. This wasn't accidental. This was intentional. She could have said something. She could have pointed it out, asked the waiter to adjust it, mentioned what she actually ordered. It would have been reasonable, fair, normal. But something about the moment stopped her. Not the money. It wasn't about the money. It was the silence. The way he avoided eye contact. The way he never acknowledged the bill. As if the entire situation was something he hoped would pass unnoticed. She picked up her card, placed it on the tray, signed the receipt, and said nothing. Outside the restaurant, the night air felt cooler. He smiled again. just like he had when he arrived. "That was really nice," he said. She nodded politely. It was. They stood there for a moment, the kind of moment where people usually talk about seeing each other again. But neither of them said it. Eventually, he said, "Text me when you get home." She nodded again, then walked toward her car. Later that night, she replayed the evening in her mind. Not the conversation, not the dessert, not the laughter, just that moment. The bill, the silence, the quiet understanding that something had been revealed. It wasn't about generosity, or expectations, or traditional dating rules. It was about something smaller, something harder to explain. Awareness, consideration, the way people behave when they think no one is paying attention. He did text her the next day. A simple message. "Had a great time last night." She read it, looked at the screen for a moment, then put her phone down. Some moments in a relationship don't end things dramatically. No argument, no confrontation, just a quiet realization. Sometimes a relationship ends with a bill.
The phone face down. At first, it didn't seem like anything, just a small habit. One of those things people do without realizing it. Every time they sat down together, she placed her phone on the table, face down. The first few times, he barely noticed. People put their phones down all the time, sometimes screen up, sometimes screen down. It didn't mean anything. But habits become visible when they repeat, and this one repeated every single time. Dinner, coffee, movie nights, whenever they were sitting across from each other. The phone appeared, face down. They had been dating for about 6 months, long enough to know each other's routines, long enough to stop pretending to be perfect, long enough to relax, and that's usually when people start noticing the small details. At first, he told himself it was nothing. Maybe she just didn't want distractions. Maybe she was trying to be present. If anything, that seemed thoughtful. But then other things started standing out. Her notifications were always silent, no vibration, no sound, just the occasional brief glow through the edges of the phone. And whenever that happened, she flipped the screen slightly away. Not dramatically, just enough. One evening they were at a small restaurant, the kind with dim lights and quiet music. They had ordered drinks. The conversation was easy, light, comfortable, and like always. Her phone sat between them, face down. Halfway through the conversation, a faint glow appeared beneath the phone, a notification. He saw it, she saw it too, and without even looking at the screen, she casually slid the phone into her bag. The motion was smooth, practiced, almost automatic. Something about that moment stayed with him. Not because of what happened, but because of how natural it looked, like she had done it many times before. Later that night, they were back at his apartment, watching something on television. Her phone rested on the coffee table, face down again. After a while, he asked a simple question, not confrontational, not suspicious, just curious. "Why do you always put your phone face down?" She looked over at him, smiled slightly. "Oh, I don't know," she said. "Habit, I guess." Then she flipped the phone over. Screen up. For the first time all evening. For a moment he felt silly. Maybe it really was nothing. Maybe he had just noticed a random pattern and built a story around it. That happens sometimes. The mind fills in blanks, but then her phone lit up again. A message, just for a second. Before the screen dimmed, she reached over, turned the phone back, face down, and continued watching the show. That was the moment something shifted. Not a dramatic realization, not a sudden accusation, just a quiet feeling. Something felt off. He didn't say anything. Not that night. Not the next day. But once you notice something like that, it becomes impossible to stop noticing. Over the next few weeks, the pattern continued. Restaurants, coffee shops, his apartment, her apartment. Every time they sat down together, the phone appeared, face down. Eventually, he stopped wondering why she did it and started wondering why it bothered him so much. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was privacy. Maybe everyone deserves a little space. Or maybe it was the feeling that part of her life existed just out of view. One evening while they were cooking dinner together, her phone buzzed softly on the counter. She glanced at it quickly, then turned it face down again. He watched the motion, the same familiar movement, the same quiet habit, and he realized something. It wasn't about the phone, it was about trust. Not trust that she was hiding something, but trust that if something mattered, she wouldn't feel the need to hide it. Later that night he asked again, more directly this time, "Is there a reason you keep your phone face down?" She looked at him for a moment, longer this time, then said quietly, "I guess I just like my privacy." He nodded. That was a fair answer. Reasonable, normal. But even reasonable answers don't always quiet a feeling. Sometimes a relationship doesn't change because of a dramatic moment. Sometimes it shifts because of a small habit, a repeated action, a tiny signal that something might be slightly out of alignment. The phone, face down, every time. It might have meant nothing, or it might have meant everything.
What would you have done? If you'd like to hear more documented accounts like this, you're welcome to subscribe. New stories are added each week.